just leave that in there, and then when the mayor reviews these, and maybe he'll have them appear here at a city council meeting so that you guys can get to know them, because the mayor appoints, and then you guys, with your consent, so a majority of you would have to agree with the appointment. If he doesn't like any of the applicants, he can say no problem. But that's up to the mayor. But I don't see any problem with the wording that we've got in the ordinance, because the qualifications, certainly it's going to be more desired if a person has a master's in public administration or accounting. You know, that's going to be a benefit for that person as an applicant. But I don't know why you would want to change the wording that we've got there, because those are all things that you can consider. And certainly, in my mind, if it were me making that decision, that would be a major thing, one of the major factors. If a candidate came and had that type of a degree versus somebody that didn't have a degree, obviously for me, the person with a degree is going to be a more qualified candidate.
Like I said, I'd only suggest you add the wording public administration in there in addition to business administration, because there is a distinction.
Well, it's a degree in business or related field. I think public administration would fall in that.
Public administration is the field we're dealing with. We're not a business.
Any change to this code, any change to wording would be changing the code.
Right, and then you're going to delay advertising for a city clerk. That's what I'm trying to help you with. So that you can advertise.
That's fine.
With
I'm fine with advertising with the current language, but I would like to go back and revisit it in the future to make those modifications.
We can do that at any time.
Yeah, but we have to put it on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah,
obviously, we don't need any action, so.
okay.
No
And
action.
then we'll put it on the future agenda to review the whole thing. Okay. And with that, we'll go on to number 8. Okay, I didn't mind. All right, then we'll go to number 8. Councilman Gervis, discussion possible action concerning to advertise the position of city clerk of the city of Ely. Where all do we advertise for that? We advertise in local, well, not local, Jay, how do we put that down?
I would suggest asking the schools and public administration the policy here in Nevada and the adjoining states advertising for those, because they're turning out crops of people who have graduated with either BA or BS in public administration and MBA, which I think would be a prime source. And likewise, even the business schools that are subsidized with those same bases would be because the job market out there is tough. I really don't think it's going to be a dearth of applicants. I think if anything, they're going to be swamped with applicants.
That's possible. Yeah, it's kind of wonder how we make a motion ever.
I will be happy to make that motion.
And I will second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll go on to number 9. Councilman Gervin, City Park Supervisor Clerk, discussion possible action, selection of veterans for the purchase and or distribution of broadband park playground equipment as a removal to allow for the installation of roof playground equipment paid or through the Simple grant. Okay. Bill?
Good thing, Bill. Well, we talked about this before about the equipment and what to do with it.
We talked about auctioning it off.
We talked about auctioning off, and we talked about also talking about auctioning off and having them remove it rather than having our city staff remove it. That was an option.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't even looked at that to see if that is a viable.
Yeah, it is very valuable.
Or how hard it is to get this, or whether we want the city staff to take it out. Probably taking it out, we'd have to lock it up somewhere before the auction.
Well, we also talked about doing it that day, like, having an auction, you bid on something, and we take it apart and say, here, after, that would be probably as good a way as any to do it, don't you think? If we, come up with the day and the time and all that stuff, and
So what timeframe or?
Well, my thinking on it was, it'd have to be after 4th of July. You have to definitely keep that.
Oh, yeah, I think we need to advertise at least for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but then the other issue that we're gonna have, I haven't heard from Roken yet about any of the construction part of the new one. UNLV will be here mid-August. I don't think we want a lot of construction going on with equipment and stuff out there while they're, and that's for 2 weeks there too. So the biggest thing is when, I guess, is dealing with the Jim Wilkins construction, when they plan on being here and being out of their way at the same time. We're just working together so we have all that stuff taken care of, then they can just come in and put it back together.
If you put it up for auction, because you have the person that buys it take it, instead of the city being responsible, and they get
We could do that way too, yeah.
you know.
I mean, some of those pieces are pretty big and the swing sets are pretty, I mean, I think we'd be better off to sell it and take it down and give it to them rather than.
Like, you're talking about the horses and stuff, yeah, that would be kind of tough on somebody, not, right equipment and stuff, I guess. I don't know really how we do it, I guess just take some torches and cut it off right at the base.
Don't most of the people who bid on something like this, wouldn't they expect, if you say that you are responsible for breakdown removal, that they would expect to have to do that and bring whatever equipment they need?
And we could help them with, yeah, I was
The assistance can be provided.
Exactly. Yeah,
Equipment
you
can be
could put
removed
that,
within
remove
2
by
days
this
or-
time, yeah.
But it's pretty standard, if you go to an auction, you have this amount of
Exactly.
time to get that thing out of there, and it's your responsibility.
Sure. And that's what I'm asking, which way do you guys want to go with doing that? How are we gonna?
I know the way I want to go. I want to say you guys can work.
There you go. And I did talk to Slade Sanborn on the, removal of the trees and stuff, and because I was concerned, like, that the NDF is on fire or something, then we'd get into a jam that way, at least if I worry about it. That was
Oh, I'd like to put the time out like a month from when we want to have the auction date so we can put some, I'd rather have an ad with pictures in the paper for some people.
Some people do it. A lot of people ask about it. That's the-
Yeah, I mean, so people know.
You know a little more about this.
You know about the trees.
Bill Wolf, the tree board, and I would really like to get some kind of direction from you guys on what's going on. Because it was our understanding more than 9 months ago, almost darn near a year ago, that this was going to be done and handled by now. And because of that, we went out and got 2 grants for trees for this darn thing. And so in the meantime, I've got trees that Bath Lumber is kind enough to take care of, that are bought and paid for, and that the county is being kind enough to bought and pay for, or that are being kind enough to take care of. And we can't expect them to take care of these trees forever. They're being generous and doing this. And this is not rocket science, you guys. I mean, please move forward on this.
Mike, how long would it take you to take the equipment and put it over in the yard on 11th Street?
I'd assume, yeah.
With the front
Most
end
of that stuff just bolted to the ground, so that's very easy to remove. We've done it before when we had it painted, so that's.
So you couldn't do it today with the
We're
help
talking
from,
big slides and stuff.
with help from another department?
Oh, yeah, probably good. I'd still like to have it. I don't want to hurt nothing. I don't want nothing just go in there and start ripping things down.
Right.
That's what we get in trouble. I'd rather just take our time doing the proper fashion.
I can mention, I've been working quite a few later evenings the last couple of weeks. And almost every evening when I go down to my vehicle, there are people playing on the stuff there. So I would hope that until we get a date that you would start taking things down, until you got a date when the new stuff is going to be coming up, so that we can at least inform the people that are using the market that we'll have something new on this particular date or sometime near this date.
But I haven't heard from the well, there we go. This man we know. I haven't heard from nobody, so.
Yeah, Jim Garza, White Pine County Community Economic Development, we're the office that is in charge of SNPMA. We have a SHPO issue we're just going through with the BLM office and an engineer that was awarded the contract on Wednesday. So I wouldn't see that Wilkins will be out there a minimum of 30 days. It's going to be between 30 and 60 days before we'll see them out there. But we are going to have a short window once we start, before the cross starts coming in. We would like to get that part completed this fall. So our anticipation is probably a good thing is 40 days from the day, we hope that they're out there starting.
Well, my thought on this is go out there and take it down.
Mr. Torres talking like he wants it done yesterday.
Well, this agenda
Well, no,
isn't dealing with trees. Those trees can come down anytime.
No, because again, we gotta get the toys out first. The trees aren't gonna be an easy project to bring down. And I don't want, again, I don't want to hurt them.
Well, we came up a couple of months ago, we were ready to do it, and then we fell on the historical playground equipment or something like that.
And then that-
We're gonna do it. Go ahead.
The question I would, if it's all right, if I could ask Mr. Garza if he knows or get an answer for, that this is a SNPLMA grant, and it's as far back as round 6. I believe they're getting close to drop dead dates for this stuff to be done. And so that would be a point that you guys may want to be aware of, that if it's not done by like, September 30th, that money may go away, because that, I think on some of those that's coming up.
That's true, Jim?
Sure.
I know it's a long one.
Again, Jim Garza, White Pine County. We just have to expend and close out that file by July 15, 2014. But we need about 2 months to get our paperwork all squared away. I hate to start it. We've got a contract already awarded to get it done this summer, possibly fall. If we have to kick that project over to next spring, we're going to have to re-let that contract out again.
Well, I know that we get people out there playing kids and all that, and it's got to get done. We don't like when it's done. I
What do we got, 10?
Sorry, get it done.
Anyway, I think Bruce has right. Let's have the city take all that equipment and move it to 11th and lock it up.
I would say after 4.
And then advertise it for sale, auction, and pick a date and auction off. We're going to get working on that part. And that we're not going to hold anyone on.
But it needs to be in the interdepartment, we're gonna need Rick's.
Well, that's the best
Well,
thing.
Get it all done.
Yeah, I mean, we've already,
They can
but we can work it out. Between Ron always has been good about it.
That sounds like a plan.
We always
What do you
work.
think? Sound good?
But let me ask you,
Yeah.
now, so that means I can start removing the backstop and everything, right? If I do the dugouts. I know, we've already talked about removing the backstop. So what I was getting at is, Bill, then maybe if I start doing that too, I can get some of the trees on the ground.
Well,
I just wanted to stay out of construction.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to put trees in the ground if there's a chance that they're going to be,
And they wouldn't be, I'd make sure they weren't. You know what I mean?
This is Jen,
There's for the tourists.
So we'll make a motion, we direct the Parks Director to take the equipment down and move it to our lot and after the 4th, and then set up an auction date. Whatever is convenient, and towards the end of July, it's convenient with your schedule to be there.
Bruce, second that?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Get it done. Okay, number 10, Council of Western discussion possible action, assessment for collection of past utility bills and clarification of notice to the delinquent landfill customers. What do you got there?
Okay, I'm not sure how many people this pertains to, but I did receive information from some residents of Ely who apparently attempted to take advantage of the offer that was put in their bill. I just want to read what that says. It's to delinquent landfill customers. The Ely City Council has approved the following offer to those customers who are delinquent in their Ely Regional landfill fees. The penalty assessed for delinquent landfill accounts will be forgiven/adjusted off the bill only if the total amount due and payable for past due monthly landfill fees are paid in full and received in City Hall no later than 5 p.m. on June 28, 2013. If you have any questions, call City Hall. And the question is, does this pertain only to county? Because that's apparently what some people were told, that if you're a resident of Ely, you may not take advantage of this, but that's not what this notice said. So I would move that we extend this offer again, everybody, county, Ely, everybody, this offer for another 60 days.
And then how many people that we have pay, I mean, a percentage wise, not a number, just a
I
estimate.
don't have a percentage. I did ask Robin, she said there was approximately 20 people that took the opportunity. About half of that, or less than half of that, were substantial amounts.
But how many, I guess how many we have out?
Of the apps that the landfill
Yeah.
passed through.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't remember. No. All I asked her about was approximately how many people took the landfill.
Any other discussion? You want to make a motion, Mark?
I did.
Okay, that was your motion. You want the second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I'm sorry, you're extending this for 60 days?
That's what I said. I'm open to the other
Can we get
suggestions.
some clarification then for the staff? We were under the understanding that it was accounts, not that it was just county or city, it was just accounts that were just landfill accounts that wouldn't apply to the water, sewer customers.
Right. And that's what this said, but, and whether it's true or not, people who are residents of the city came to me and told me they were denied this offer.
If they were just landfill accounts, I don't see that we would have. I don't know, I'd have to discuss that with Robin and Lenny. It was our understanding it would be just the accounts that were just landfill. We didn't have the water and sewer landfill. It's a combination.
Well, my motion would be to extend this offer to anyone, city or county, and forgive their landfill account, their landfill bill.
No,
Marty,
forgive their
my bill,
penalties.
Delinquent, penalty assessed for delinquent on landfill accounts will be forgiven and adjusted off the bill, only if the total amount due. Yeah, the penalty, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, this offer, but for city and county,
Got a comment there?
There's no-
Marty, my bill has water, sewer, and landfill. I can't pay just the landfill. So are you talking about for city people, all three, water, sewer, and landfill? Like, because I can't become delinquent on the landfill without being delinquent on the water and sewer.
Right, we do have some people though that don't have water and sewer because they've been shut off or
Right, but I'm
whatever.
clarifying it for
Have
Jeanette.
been shut off for a while, so they only have landfill.
Yeah, and I don't see that we would have denied them, because this, to our understanding, there wasn't a separation between landfill. Now, the wording might have been given to them that it, the majority of them are county residents that this was targeted for. That might have been part of the conversation, but I don't think, and I said I'd have to check with the other girls, that they would have refused somebody that had just a landfill bill.
and I'm not saying that they did, but this didn't really make it clear that this could not be utilized by people in the city.
Okay, we got an alternative? And I'll get you. So I take a second over there?
I second.
You second.
I'm one that made complaints about this because I said I would come and I have 2 properties that 3 people live on and I'm paying double water bill because I'm not hooked to my house. I'm not a rental property, I'm not anything like that. I said I will come when I get my income tax. I will pay both those accounts current. When I went up there to City Hall and I brought my little yellow notice like that, I said I want to get my, because I paid it in full, over $500 between the 2 places with 3 people. I think $100 and some dollars a month for 2 houses with 3 people on it. Can't even compare it to what a house with 7 people is living in is paying. And I don't have a water meter, so I can't pay for what I'm using. And I was told this is only for county residents only. It does not apply to you. Well, I'm paying landfill. I was behind, I paid it. I think my bill should be credited to that. And I talked to somebody else that worked for the city, and they said that's because the city can shut your water off. They can't do anything to anybody in the county. And I said, if I'm paying it, and I am a city resident, it should apply to me too. That was a lot of money, and I fulfilled my obligation. I don't think the city has fulfilled theirs. When you only give it to the county residents, we all pay landfill. I had to pay late fees on the landfill bills. It is not correct that you discriminate between city and county because you can shut my water off, and I can't live in my house without water. And they'll be glad to tell you that. We shut your water off, you have to move out of your house. I can't bring a porta potty in there. I can't bring bottled water. I can't do nothing because I am in the city. I should not be penalized because of that. If I was in the county, it's pretty much elective. What's the city going to do? Are you going to send the attorney out there to give them a bill and say, okay, we're taking you to small claims court because you didn't pay your tax?
I would suggest right now, if you could get it with Councilman Westland, and maybe you could...
But I think it's important to a lot of us that have struggled and struggled. My son is disabled. He is on fixed income. I'm on fixed income, and it's going to end soon. And I may be out living in the hills because I can't live in my house without water and
Well, why don't you contact the councilman there and see if we can work something out?
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? You got them all in there? Opposed? Nobody's opposed, okay. Okay, number 11, Councilman Sutherland, discussion possible action consideration to create and implement a policy that specifically provide for a reasonable time of dispersal of the public following city meetings subject to the open meeting law. What kind of time you got in mind, everyone?
Everybody get a copy of this letter?
I did.
You want to see?
Oh,
What I'd like to see is when the meeting's over and the mayor hits the hammer down, that people aren't forced out, they just walk out when it's time and they feel it's time to go. Nobody gets pushed out and forced out the doors. And that's what I'm against. I don't think there's any problem with allowing George to film it until he's the last person out behind Jennifer.
Now,
That's where it's
do
not.
you agree that the meeting is over once the gavel goes down?
The meeting is over once the gavel goes down.
Okay.
But I've
Then-
seen 30
then-
seconds.
Okay, then, would you should say it's no longer an open meeting. People should be able to disperse with no problem. I agree with that. But with that
I've
means
seen-
that you still will allow people to record the meeting in possible
I don't
private
see any problem with
conversation
recording it.
and private conversation. Some people might not want to know. That's what this
Mayor,
whole issue is about.
when people are here and they see two cameras running, they can't expect a private conversation. If they want a private conversation, walk out. I'm just saying I don't want to see anybody forced out while they're
Mr.
talking.
Chachis has probably been about the only one.
My grandfather-
That we do one time, I know. But Mr. Chachis is about the only one, because he won't turn his camera off, he's trying to catch people talking.
What I'm saying is I don't have a problem with the camera running until he walks out the door. I don't know if any of the other council members do, but I'm very offended when somebody's pushed out. The last meeting, everybody left, nobody had a problem, there was no problems at all, it just ended. I don't want to see anybody get pushed out.
I don't.
I think.
So what do you want to give them, 15 minutes?
Well, I don't know, I think it's a shame that you have to give 15 minutes or that you have to give any time, to get out. I don't think 30 seconds is long enough. I just think that when the meeting's over, everybody leaves. When
It
the
all
last
comes
person is
down to
out,
the recording of people after a public meeting.
if people don't want to be recorded, then don't talk. I'm not going to talk to,
That's what we have to do.
that's what we have to do then.
I think we need to set a specific time because
Obviously,
we have to look at we're paying somebody here to stay and lock up the doors. So the longer we let everybody congregate in the room, the more overtime the city's gonna pay.
But we can't lock the doors, Mr. Chachis is still.
I don't even mind 10 minutes. 10 minutes after the meeting, Jennifer locks the door. Or 5 minutes.
I hear 15.
Hold on, Frank. All right, I'll ask. Just, I'm doing this out of respect for this new council, because this is not the policy to ask questions of everybody. But I'm probably going to change that, because that seems to be what they want. So give me a chance, Frank, and I will get to you before a vote, okay? I will. I know, and I'll ask you, Frank, okay? Sit down for a second. Let me get to you so we can do our conversation. Okay? And, God, at the end of Frank, I know you're upset, but give me a chance. So you're not taking any time.
I would hate to have to put a time. I thought that.
But you see, what you're doing here is adopting policy, so it has to be a time. And you have no problem with people recording.
No, I don't have a problem with people recording.
Even though it's no longer a public meeting.
Get out.
The mayor, you can go out front, people can record. I don't care that people are recording. What I'm saying is, I don't want to see anybody push out the door.
No, I don't.
One time you told me, a year and a half ago, you said, that'll never happen again. It didn't happen for 2 weeks. And then it was right back to the way it was. I don't want to see that. And I think it's very disrespectful for anybody to threaten to be arrested because they're not walking fast enough.
Well, then give me a time.
Okay, 5 minutes.
That's what I'm trying to
Okay,
say.
when the gavel goes down, everybody's got 5 minutes to get out without intimidating.
5 minutes. I give them at least 10.
Okay, 10 minutes.
At least 10.
Thank you. Give them 10.
But I would like to see them turn recording devices off. That's all I'm saying. The public
We've got the
meeting.
recording device on now. It doesn't
It's a public meeting.
According to the papers, you can see what the federal government's been doing, recording everybody, so I don't see what you're.
You guys are going to make the vote.
Well, the thing is, you know what?
Councilman
In my
Derry.
pizzeria, I got cameras all over you.
George is just ahead of his time.
Yeah,
Yeah. all
and
right.
Jordan is way ahead of his time. I think 10 minutes should be fine for everybody to get out.
I've got a question with regards to that then. Does that mean that Jennifer or somebody has to stay for 10 minutes?
Somebody has to lock it up. So that's
Jennifer,
why-
do you mind staying 10 minutes?
Because you're inevitably going to have somebody sitting here and the 10 minutes hasn't run, and Jennifer and that person is here by themselves and saying, well, my 10 minutes isn't run yet, so I'm not leaving. I mean, that's potentially what could happen.
I guarantee it, if everybody's gone, George will leave.
I'm worried about
Come on up here and tell us what you got.
When the meeting's closed, you know, you finish the meeting, you adjourn the meeting, the public is paying for this, the use of this building. You're paying what, $700 a month and then some a month? We have the same right to stay in this building as you guys do it. When the meeting's over, everybody's out of here. But you should allow at least 15, 20 minutes for people to discuss issues with a councilman or whatever, and not sit there and threaten people and shove them out the door like I've seen happen over and over. Put an end to it. Allow 15 or 20 minutes for people to stay after the meeting's adjourned.
I would hope that the councilman would go ahead and walk out after a couple seconds.
Yeah, but I
Everybody
mean,
would
you
follow.
know, if you have an issue and you want to talk about it, you got someplace else to go, but you want to talk to an individual about it, a councilman or the mayor or whoever, you should allow people a few minutes rather than forcing them out the door. You know, the public's paying for this building for the use of it by asking you. Thank you.
Whereas in summertime, that's fine, but I mean, 6 months from now, it's 20 below. I think I'd rather stay in here.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I think 15 minutes is not too long to give the public. I'll give you an example. It was before Bruce was appointed to council. I was asking him questions, or voted in, but I was asking him questions one night, right after the council meeting, and it was within 1 minute after the gavel went down. I was approached and said, either you leave now or we'll have the police come and escort you out. And that happened.
And I think 15 minutes, but especially, and this is in the wintertime I'm talking about. It's cold outside to try to discuss something to go out there in the middle of the winter. Or, you know, I might want to talk to some individual that brought an issue up, you know, for 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
Here I go, scuttlebutt from the senior center. Talked with a lady who was there, and she was waiting for some information that Miss Lee was going to get her from City Hall and bring over to her. And she was approached and told that this was a private club, she needed to leave. She said, I'm not going anywhere, I'm waiting for some paperwork from Miss Lee. She went to get it for me, and I'm not going anywhere. I don't think we should be thrown out. That's why I'm against having this meeting in a private club. This is a bar, it's a private club. There are too many places that are available. Mount Wheeler Power, the library. Could we barter with some of the money that the county wants the city to pay and use the library?
Why don't we give Jimmy more?
Hi, John. How are you doing?
What's going on?
I'm Jim Norris. Hey, you know, there's something I'm thinking of. If you guys are going to hang around, that's a continuation of the meeting. Isn't that a violation of the open meeting law? I mean, once you adjourn the meeting, I don't understand why a councilman would want to sit out here and talk about the issues that's already been brought up. I think giving the public plenty of time to get out so they're not forced is fine. But I don't see any reason for a council person or the mayor to sit around and continue a meeting that's been adjourned. And that's all I got to say.
Okay, what do you want to make it, 5, 10, or 15?
We've heard 15 from the audience twice.
Who's making the motion? You make a motion?
I mean, I'll amend it to 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And with that, with number 12, Councilman Hanson. Hey, did you? I'm trying to get the names right.
Well, we confused you by making your left.
Confused them earlier by not wearing a tie. I mean, with lunch.
Believe me when I tell you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Consideration.
Let me read it for you. Okay, Councilman Hanson, discussion possible action, consideration of changing the city council meeting time to facilitate. Great, thank you. Attendance on the part of citizens interested in attending city council meetings. Now, despite what everybody, I am going to ask you questions before we get into that. Do you have a time in mind, or is it just whatever we want? That's why I asked about the minutes.
5 o'clock has been suggested by a number of my constituents that would make it easier for them to attend this, but I'm open to any suggestion, and I think it would be good to hear from as many people here as want to chime in on that. But it is put there deliberately because I've had that issue brought up to me, and I told my constituents I would put it on the agenda for discussion. So, there it is.
Yeah, I'd like to put it on. I don't mind. You know, I was all for changing the meeting times. Councilwoman Blizzard's had a better idea. If there's an item that somebody wants to talk at, they could call Jennifer and request that item be moved on later on the agenda, so that if they get off at 6:30, we still got 8 more items. That item probably won't come up until 7:30.
Well, that's all
May I say
policy.
something?
The mayor.
That is so impossible. You just never know who's going to.
The mayor has the option of setting the agenda or the council.
I'm talking about after the meeting's already started.
Well, let me just finish my thought. What I was going to say is you don't know how long it's going to go. It's conceivable everything could be done. So we're going to sit here for a half hour or so until 6:30, just say.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the time. I'm saying move the agenda item to the end of to the last agenda item if there's something somebody wants to talk
That's
about.
what she's saying, though, is if we get
Can't
finished
plan on
early,
what time it will be.
we may be done.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe
We've always tried to accommodate people that had to leave town or something.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I just thought if they let me know ahead of time, we'll move their item or something like that. But if it gets, well, I got something important to talk about, my agenda item should be first. That's not really good. That's a good thought. But if we can accommodate people, we've always done. And so, what time do you think of?
I'd like to just make a comment. I've been doing this a long time, and even when I was at the county as a deputy district attorney, one of my responsibilities there was when we had the regional planning commission, that was a combination of the city and county planning commission. Those were always in the evenings, and nobody ever came unless there was something that they wanted to address on the agenda. The same thing at the school board. Those meetings are open to the public. They're in the evenings. Nobody comes unless there's something that they want to address on the agenda. With the exception of George and just a few people that come to our meetings here, I don't know that you're going to get any greater public participation because you're holding them in the evenings. Our community here, the major employers in our community work in shift work. Just because you're moving it past 5 o'clock doesn't mean you may be then foreclosing other people that could come from coming because they have to go to work then. So just a thought to keep in mind. We're not like a lot of other communities where the major employers are not shifting, don't run shifts.
Like I said, I put it on the agenda as a result of comments that I've heard from constituents. So I'd like to hear anybody say anything that's here, for or against or anything else.
All right, George, go ahead. You can give me a little
Somebody's
You
got to
smile.
You've always liked it.
Mr. Mayor, meetings used to be held for decades at 5 o'clock. Only recently have you folks have gone on the floor, and one time you wanted to do it at 2 in the afternoon. Go back to 5 o'clock. Give people a chance to come.
4 o'clock when you are there. Don't look at me and say I changed.
I would have changed it up if I could have, but the council didn't want to do that. Now you're asking for input, that's all I'm saying.
Well, no,
It was 5 o'clock for
You're
years,
making it sound like
as a matter of fact,
you
until
changed
you
it in the
came
last
up.
6 months.
So 5 o'clock would be a good time. Unless you don't want anybody listening to it.
George, I wouldn't have called you up if I didn't listen to you.
Another purpose to 5 o'clock for 30 days. If the attendance doesn't increase, we go back to 4 o'clock.
No, I have another issue, I'm sorry. But I am submitting to the newspaper this coming week the schedule for the next 6 months, and that posts the time. I would have sent it to the paper already, but I was waiting for this item for the time to be selected.
Well, we can change it. I mean, we call the paper and change it back and tell them.
Lucas, can we change it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Just, I'll go on record as saying that personally 4 o'clock is better for me, but I just wanted this brought up because that's what the constituents want. If that's what they want, then so be it.
It does. We will have to change the ordinance if you want to change it to another time, because it does indicate that regular meetings will be happening the second and fourth Thursdays of each month at 4 o'clock.
But does the ordinance give you time, because we changed November and December to one meeting?
Yeah,
We're not changing the ordinance.
you can make temporary adjustments to that. I mean, that would make it no longer a regular meeting per se. You can have special meetings whenever you want.
You want to do a temporary adjustment for a month?
Yeah, see if it increases, if you get a lot of feedback, then we'll change the ordinance.
We can change the time for a month, for 2 meetings, the next 2 meetings.
Want to make that motion?
Go ahead.
How are we going to handle that as far as the ordinance goes?
If
I'll
they're
make a
going to do
motion.
a temporary thing and we consider those special meetings and not regular meetings, then we're not.
But then we're not having our regular meetings.
I think since it's an ordinance, I think we ought to leave it at 4, and if we get enough people want to change it to 5, we have to go through the ordinance. We can choose
Okay.
the ordinance.
Okay, do we have a motion for 5 o'clock?
No, to change the ordinance?
No, we'd have
To make it 5 o'clock?
No, we'd have to.
Change the ordinance.
Well, I'm waiting, that's what's on the agenda, I'm waiting for someone to just not make a motion for that.
We can let it die.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
So no motion on it.
No motion.
And then I suggest that you guys want to do is maybe change the ordinance. Go about it properly. That we added.
Well, if the interest is to change it to 5, make a motion on this, and then I'll prepare the first reading of the ordinance for your next meeting. I mean, it's going to take 6 weeks to get it done, but ultimately, you'll have the ordinance changed and then you can have your meeting at 5.
I appreciate George's input, but I'd still love to hear from some other people about this.
I guess what we could do is change the ordinance and leave the time out of the ordinance.
To be determined by the city council.
We don't have to have a time
Yeah.
necessarily. So if we want to change, if you want to do that, we need to change the ordinance and leave that time out, and then the city council can change the time how they want to without changing the ordinance.
Right.
Or we could just add in here that the date and time can be changed by resolution, because we do have some ordinances that indicate that. So then you don't have to go through the ordinance process to change it.
But if we left it out, then we wouldn't have to do either resolution or change the ordinance. We would simplify it.
Except the resolution is just like making a motion, so you've got a record of it.
So you want to make that motion?
I'll be happy to make that motion, that we have the city attorney prepare agenda item to change that ordinance to allow the city council to determine the date and time by resolution. Kind of will meet.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, number 13 is kind of mute now because we did change the tables around. So
Well, it's not mute. You gotta find out who really likes it.
whether I like it or not.
Ultimately, it's the mayor that makes the decision on how
And I said it was all right to do it.
outside of your purview.
If I want to change it back, it'll be public.
So I think it works out well.
I think it's fine. I want some adjustments and maybe a couple things. Otherwise, we're chocolate.
Comments from the public?
14, council members, city landfill supervisor court, discussion possible action, selection of an engineer for the landfill survey. Okay, Rick, what do you got?
The reason I put this on there is for the new council, and that to show that we try to do our homework, and that we have been doing an aerial survey of the landfill for the last few years, and that because it's been so vulnerable out there, different changes that I'm making to gain more airspace, and that to lengthen the life of the landfill. We finally got things locked in to where we're on a pretty good track. Our plan with the old council was that we would do our survey this year, and then we have a permit modification out there with NDEP that's going to change the whole look of the landfill in the end when we're done, and it should add anywhere between 30 to 60 additional years of life to the landfill that we currently have now. And trying to get all that in and done, we were going to fly the landfill again this year so that we know exactly where we're sitting at the end of this fiscal year. And then NDEP has been sitting on our permit modification request since the 14th of December. I just talked with John Taylor, which is the head guy at the EPA over solid waste on permitting landfills. He says he's got 4 or 5 questions that he needs to ask us, so I asked him if he'd please put that in writing today and email it to me so I could get it with BJ and we could get that addressed and get it right back. And once we get the permitting done, we've already paid some engineer to complete the permit modification of the landfill, and we didn't think it'd ever drag out this long. The EPA sat on for almost 7 months, but we get that done, and then next year when we fly it once more, we get exactly where we're at. We know how many years that we're supposed to have, and then we see where we're at. And then after that, we're only required to fly the landfill once every 5 years, and that we're mandated that we have to do that by the EPA. And that, but if we can continue that survey for this year to lock in the numbers a little bit better, and then once we get the final design approved by the NDEP, then we'll know exactly where we're at. We know exactly how many years we're supposed to have. We count that out next year, see how close we are to it. Then after that, like I say, every 5 years we can go in and do it. So being BJ is just on a retainer, and for projects like this, and that it's extra money that doesn't come out of his monthly portion that we pay him. I went ahead
and went to Summit, asked them for a bid for doing the survey. I went to BJ, asked him for a bid to do the survey, to show you that, you know, I'm doing the work and what, that we need to do on our homework. And Basin Engineering with BJ came in at $5,950, and Summit Engineering came in at $7,000. And that was my recommendation to let's go ahead and do this flyover this year, to lock the numbers in a little bit stronger, and to give it to Basin Engineering and let them do it. And that we've been working with Summit. They sent us an email today that they're sending over all the data that BJ's going to need to take off from where they left off at. He'll be able to pick up and go from there and move forward.
I got a question. Do you have to do a flyover by law?
Every 5 years we do, Bruce.
Did you do one last year?
Yes, we did. And
let me finish the question.
Okay.
Last time I was at the landfill 2 weeks ago, you told me that we have a 60-year life. You were taking me around. If we got 60 years, do we really need to spend that money on another flyover?
Well, right.
Because that's going to tell us whether we got between 30 and 60 years.
Okay, Bruce, what had happened is on a lot of our last surveys that we had, 1 year we're up here with the years, and then the next year we're way down again. And then we'd come back up a bit, and then we'd go down, and then we'd be back up. Now the numbers have been worked around, everything's been checked. The last year, 2 years, everything pretty well balanced out, and that, so the old council decided we'd go ahead and we'd do it this year, and get it done, and that then we know we're locked in. We've got 3 years that we're locked in, we're running on a good scale. It shows that we haven't changed our procedures on burying, that we're still coming in with the survey, that we're matching up to the survey. And then the new permit modification that I've done, that's the one that's going to bump us up to over 60 years. Right now, we only have, I believe it's like 39 years, right, BJ? And that 39 years, and then the new one should add an additional, like I say, anywhere from 30 to 60 years. And that, so depending on how all the numbers come together in the final cap when they're done, and what the EPA approves, and that we could be here a lot longer.
Well, right now we're guaranteed 39 years.
The main reason that you get a survey done, and particularly a flyover like this, where it's been different each year, it hasn't been consistent, is because depending on the life of the landfill, it depends on how much money we have to set aside for the closure of the landfill. So there's a big difference if it's 39 years. I think one of the reports came in once a couple of years ago where it was only 26. You know, there's a big financial thing.
I know that.
If you know what the
and that's what I'm talking about. He's done 3 flyovers that I remember in the last 4 years, and like you said, one's 29, and it goes up to 36, and now we can go up to 60. Is the flyovers really telling us anything?
It is now.
If it's not that much of a change.
They've gone in and they found some, I don't know, errors on their part or whatever. But anyhow, they've gone back, clear back to 2003. They redid all the numbers. They redid all the counts. They checked the RDA counts on yardage and everything, and we've matched right in. And we've got things straightened around now where the last 2 years we've been pretty consistent, right at staying around the 39-year range. And that, so being we have the permit modification coming that can add a lot more years to it, we want to get one more locked in and make sure right where we're at. Then once we get the permit modification and it jumps us up there, then next year we'll do it one more time to make sure the numbers still jive. Then after that, by law, we're required to do it once every 5 years. And that's what we would go back to at that time.
The problem I have with this is we have a city engineer. If the city engineer decided we need a flyover, then he should approach the city council. That's why we have an engineer. And he's not on retainer, he's on retainer for salary. He's our city engineer. He does the engineering. If he decides we need to have somebody else do it, he would decide it. And his salary on when he does it would be, if he goes over the allotted hours, then he would bill us for it. And if he doesn't that month, that's how his work schedule goes. But we hired an engineer to do this. And it's BJ's call and no one else's. That's the way I feel.
I did have a conversation with Rick today about this. And, it is not required. It's, Rick's desire based on the way he runs his landfill and the way he's been doing these things, of a plan of operations of how he wanted to do it. I understand where he's coming from, but bottom line is by law, it's not required. It's not. It's 5 years, so basically 4 years from now, you go back and you'd be in compliance with that. We just dealt with Mark, the guy at the state. I was dealing with Jeanette. This was a while back on the landfill. He had requested this report of the, say, every 5-year quantities. He hadn't received it yet. We pulled that information back, got that to him, so he was satisfied based on last year's report. So as a requirement, it's not a requirement. It's strictly from an operational standpoint that Rick feels that it's something that he could use. It would allow him, to function up there a little more efficiently, or but it's not required.
If the years come out different, meaning right now you're assuming 39 years, if it comes to 60, are we going to lower everybody's landfill bill to compensate that?
No, because
then there's no point in doing it. I don't see it.
well, to answer that question there, even though we extend the life of landfill out longer, we still have our daily operational cost. That's part of what that $16 a month is paying now. And that the longer that we're there with the landfill, the more pieces of equipment over the years that we're going to have to buy, and that because they're going to wear out, we're going to have to replace them. So that's going to cost money, and we need to have the money in the bank to be able to go buy and get it replaced as it wears out. We only had 10 years of life left, and all the equipment's up doing that. Then yeah, lower the price down for the next few years if you got everything that you need to close it out. Because one thing you need to remember on this landfill, that when it closes for 30 years, we have to go in and we have to reclaim it, and we have to maintain it and manage it for 30 years before we can walk away from it. That's going to cost some money. And this is part of why we're doing these flyovers, so that we make sure we're putting the proper amount we need to in the bank, so that when we do close, the money is there so the landfill can be taken care of, so that the public doesn't get stuck paying for a landfill that's closed for the next 25 or 30 years because the money's not there to maintain it. Nevada state law is 30 years that you have to maintain that landfill when it closes.
I still go back, we're paying for an engineer, and the engineer should decide whether we need to fly over now, next year, or just go by law in 5 years.
I've got a question for BJ. If we do a flyover this year, then we are mandated to do one in 5 years?
Yes.
If we do a flyover not this year but next year,
Then it'd be 5 years from your flight, in between flights. It's not on every,
it's not on a set
0
calendar.
5 years, and it's on a 5-year basis.
It starts
Based on
with
the
each
last
flyover.
survey.
Okay.
And what the survey is accomplishing.
It's a different discussion anyway. It's the way this is worded, selection of an engineer.
Well,
Yeah,
We're
it's not
talking
for-
about when we should do a flyover.
yeah.
That's
The
true.
cost of the flyover.
No.
Based on the.
No, it just says selection of an engineer for the landfill.
Well, it says a selection of an engineer, and since we've kind of agreed that we have
We have
one,
an
what are we
engineer.
doing here?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. I move we table this one because it's not, it doesn't
Wash
have
it.
any, I move to wash it. Not
Yeah.
Okay, who's second? Marty, you second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I guess for the next one, you can put in for a fly. And, then right there, so we got it. Council member, city, street, supervisor Short, discussion possible action, approval of the concept of a valley gutter on the Avenue M between 10th Street East and 11th Street East, and direction of, what to do with the, city-owned property behind the valley gutter. What's the valley gutter?
The valley gutter, you should all have the map. Look there. And see where the roadway is, where it says Avenue N, and you see a little dotted line in that, and then just before you get over, you'll see two lines that are close together, and it'll show you there that that's the valley gutter. And that the school district is doing some major reconstruction down there of their school facility, and they're putting in new curb and gutter all the way on 11th Street, and they're putting a road there that you can see that will come off of Avenue M, that the parents can take their kids in and drop them off, and then you can see the little walkway there that they would walk over to get into the school building, then the parents come on out to 11th Street, and actually, they come back out onto 11th Street, and then
It's actually the other way around. They're going to enter on 11th Street and come out on Avenue N.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any
The
other.
valley gutter is one you can drive over conveniently.
Yeah, the valley gutter is just your concrete that kind of beads on the road.
Trench.
Yeah, a little trench, and then it catches the water and runs it. And on Avenue M, it's just like every other street in East Philly, it's 80-foot right-of-way. And the city can just not afford to maintain an 80-foot right-of-way there. So what the school district is proposing to do is they would like to put a valley gutter and move it out so that off the center line on it, there's a 20-foot paved lane on that side, and there's going to be a 20-foot lane on the other side, which makes the total width of the pavement of that street there 40 feet wide. We have been trying for a long time to try to start somewhere to get our standards of our streets back to 40 feet in East Ely, because 82 feet is just ridiculous to try to maintain or anything. And the school district is willing to come in here and put that valley gutter all the way from 11th Street East all the way up to 10th Street East. There'll be one long block there that they'll put that valley gutter in the whole way. And then doing so, they want to have some off-street parking. You can see the diagonal lines. That's where they would have their parking at for the parents that come up for games or other functions at school. They need extra parking. They pull in there and park there, so that they would be parking off-street, because they're not be parked out onto the street. And one of the questions that the school district has on this is that they would like to take the property from behind the valley gutter back into where it shows that in part of that city property, part of it's school district property. And they would like to see if we could abandon a date, I guess you'd say, the property behind the valley gutter and turn it over to the school district and let them maintain it. They would then take care of it and maintain it. They'd have paid parking stalls in there, and we don't lose anything on our part. Our street still stays at 40 feet. We've got a nice valley gutter there that's going to protect the edge of the road. It's actually going to widen that road about 6 feet, was it be?
6 feet on one side, 8 feet on the other end.
And that it would widen the road out and straighten it out through there. And then we would have a beginning where we would have the street at the 40-foot standard that the city's always tried to get to.
I just got one quick question. Across the street is a trailer park, and they all park on the street. Is that taking that property for the school district? Is it going to change that parking for them at all?
No, and that
they're parking diagonally also.
Yeah, they're parking diagonally now, and the cars are making it up and down the road with the width of the pavement that's there now. We're actually widening the pavement out another 6 to 8 feet. So the road's going to be 6 to 8 feet wider than it is. And so, if anything, it's going to give them a little bit more parking over there, cars to get around them.
I did go out with PJ and look at this project. It looked pretty good to me.
Actually, I should point out, if you're going to do an abandonment, we're going to have to agendize it as an abandonment, because there are some certain legal things that you have to indicate in an abandonment. We're going to actually have a legal description of those kinds of things done. However, if you're just going to authorize them to utilize the right-of-way, city-owned right-of-way for this parking, and for them to put the curbs, the proposed curbs that are on there, that's a whole different thing. So if you're going to do that, but if it's going to be an official abandonment, we have to do some other additional things.
Can we abandon, can we give them the right and then proceed with abandonment so that we don't have to, if we abandon the property, then it's the school district maintain. but not hold up construction because they're working on it, then we just give them the authorization tonight to have that property and start with us giving them.
And that's why I kind of had it in a two-part question on approval of the concept of the valley gutter on Avenue Wham between 10th Street East and 11th Street East, and directions from the council on what to do with the property behind it. So that was the intent, was to get the approval for the valley gutters to the school district and have their contractor move right on through with the work and not be held up. And then we can take it up with the school district to see if we want to do an abandonment, if we want to maintain ownership of it, and just allow them to use it, which direction